Hi there, Smart Driver, talking to you about winter driving. The east of the Mississippi River in the United States and parts of Canada are getting cold, very cold snap. Tips and strategies to stay out of the ditch and keep yourself safe in the winter time. Dadgum winter, getting stuck in the snow, losing control of your vehicle and potentially going into the ditch. We're going to talk about what happens if you are unfortunate enough to get into a collision, what you can do to protect yourself. First and foremost, in the event of a collision, make sure that you are wearing your seatbelt. Your seatbelt not only protects you in the event of a crash, but it also keeps you in the driver's seat. If you are not in the driver's seat, it's really tough to control and drive the vehicle. So wear your seatbelt at all times in the winter. All right, winter driving mistakes, that video from last week, I put it up. I thought it was really good to help people out with winter driving and edited that and put it up on the Smart Drive Test YouTube channel. So definitely have a look at that. Washer fluid. It's going to be icky and ucky, and there's a lot of sand and dirt and salt and pickle mix, as it's called in the maintenance industry on the roadway. So make sure that you put winter washer fluid into the reservoir in your vehicle. And the reason you want winter washer fluid is because it will not freeze. It's good for minus 40 degrees Celsius, minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit. If you don't put winter washer fluid into the reservoir, the windshield washer reservoir in your vehicle, it will freeze. And if it freezes, it will expand. As we know, water expands when it freezes, and therefore it'll break the reservoir tank, and that can be costly to repair. Try to stay away from sand trucks and snow plows on the roadway. Keep your distance. Stone chips on the windshield. The windshield on the buggy probably needs to be replaced soon. I think my daughter was counting them today as we were driving, and there's 6 or 7 stone chips. If you do get stone chips on your windshield from sand trucks and flying debris and whatnot, take it into a glass shop and get them fixed as quickly as possible, because if you don't get the stone chips fixed, they will develop into cracks along your windshield, and then you'll have to get the entire windshield replaced. Stone chips are about $60 to repair. A windshield is going to cost you anywhere from $500 to $2,000 depending on the type of vehicle you have and how many other things are in the windshield. For example, your radio antenna, GPS, those types of things. So a windshield can cost you a fair bit of money, so get your stone chips fixed quickly. Tires. You don't necessarily need dedicated winter tires on your vehicle. If you're just going to stay within the city and you're not going to drive out on the highways and roadways and those types of things, and you're not driving up to the ski hill every day, good all-season tires with either the 3-peak mountain snowflake symbol, or M&S, mud and snow tires. If you are driving up to the ski hill every day, or you're driving in a region where you have hard pack on the roadways, then you're going to need steel-studded tires. And check your state or check your province the laws allowing steel-studded tires on your vehicle. I know here in the province of British Columbia, you can only have them on from October 1st till the 31st of March, and then you cannot be legally running steel-studded tires because they're incredibly hard on pavement. They dig up the pavement and they premature wear on the asphalt is what I'm trying to say. So make sure that you have them on your vehicle when you legally can. There's a lot of places you can't have steel-studded tires on your vehicles, but they are allowed here in the province of British Columbia. As I said, you don't necessarily need dedicated winter tires on your vehicle. However, they are much better than conventional all-season tires because the rubber compound is softer, and therefore the rubber moves and flexes a lot more, which gets rid of the snow in the tread of the tire, and it's that getting rid of the snow in the tires that allows for traction on the roadways, and they're going to perform much better on ice as well. All right, stopping on ice, get off the brake, get off the accelerator, and steer the vehicle in the direction that you want to go as well. You're going to find with ABS brakes, and this is a misnomer amongst drivers on the roadway, is they think that ABS brakes are going to help them in the wintertime. The reality is that ABS brakes are not going to stop you in a shorter distance. In fact, in the wintertime, on slippery conditions, ABS brakes, if the ABS activates and kicks in, which is right down at the bottom of the pedal in the emergency stopping position, you're probably going to take longer to stop. And I have had experiences in the past where you're on the ABS, on the brakes, and the ABS is activated, and I've ended up in the middle of the intersection before I actually get the vehicle stopped. So you can avoid activating the ABS right at the bottom of the brake pedal and just on the brakes, off the brakes, hit the brakes again, and then just not pumping the brakes, but on hard till almost wheel lock up, release, on again. That's probably going to get you slowed down sooner. Or if you do experience loss of traction and you can't get the vehicle stopped and it's just not grabbing and getting traction, then move to the right. Get out of the main tracks of the road. There's going to be some snow over there and you might be able to find some traction that will allow you to get stopped. And the few times that I've got caught out at intersections, I come up and all of a sudden, oh my God, it's really slippery. I move to the right, and generally I find enough traction that will get me stopped. I mean, you might even be able to bang into the curb and get it stopped, but that's going to be better than you plowing through an intersection and potentially being hit in a T-bone crash. Loss of control. The reason we lose control of the vehicle on slippery conditions is because of too much steering, too much brake, too much acceleration. And we all know this because we've gone out in the wintertime, we played around in parking lots, we've given it lots of throttle, we go around and we do donuts and those types of things. This will teach you oversteering and understeering, and I'll talk more about that in the presentation here. But over braking is generally the reason that people get into trouble in the wintertime and lose control of the vehicle. In addition to that, there's just simply too much steering in combination with the braking. Off the brake, off the accelerator, steer the vehicle in the direction that you want it to go. Slush and deep snow is going to push you around because you're not in the tracks. So go slow at a speed that will allow you to control the vehicle as you're moving forward. Know that generally when you're on multi-lane roads and it has snowed and you get a lot of slush, you'll get windrows of slush between the lanes of traffic. And if you change lanes from one lane to another, you're going to have to cross that slush. Know that the vehicle may dance around a little bit as you're moving through that slush. So you got to work the throttle. As soon as you start losing control, get off the throttle and then get back on the throttle and get going again. All vehicles in this day and age are going to be front-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, or four-wheel drive. There are going to be very, very few rear-wheel drive vehicles on the roadway. So you're going to have good traction owing to the drivetrain of the vehicle. Focus on where you want to go. Stay straight, brake in a straight line. If the vehicle is out of line or on a curve, going around a corner and you hit the brakes, that's when you could get into trouble. As well, going around curves, make sure that you slow down before the curve and have slight power to the drivetrain when you're going around the curve. Not accelerating, but you want power to the wheels. Large vehicles are going to kick up a lot of spray. They're going to kick up a lot of snow. If it is melting and there is a lot of spray and there's been a lot of salt put down on the roadways and whatnot, make sure that you have your windshield wipers on. Make sure that your windshield washer fluid is topped up so that you can clean the windshield and keep the glass clean for maximum visibility. Stay back. If it is snowing heavily and you're having difficulty finding the roadway, please don't turn on your four-way flashers. It's distracting to other drivers on the roadway. We all know that it's snowing heavily. We know that conditions have deteriorated. Stay back. Identify the landmarks, the traffic signs along the roadways, utility poles, intersections, other traffic on the roadway. Look for your landmarks and look for changing light conditions when you're going under underpasses and other places where potentially all of a sudden it could go from light to getting dark, tunnels and whatnot. Chop steering. If you're going around a corner and you experience understeering where the vehicle has continued to go straight and it's not turning, first get your foot off the accelerator, start slowing down as much as you can. Don't use the brake, just take your foot off the throttle, and then steering, okay? Jerk the steering wheel, bring it back to straight, jerk it. Because what happens is that when you turn, the wheels stop rolling, and as soon as the wheels stop rolling, the vehicle is being pushed forward and you're not getting any steering. When you bring the wheels back to straight, the wheels start rolling again and they get traction and then you can turn again. That's chop steering, and it's used all the time in rally car racing to get traction and to move around corners when there is compromised traction on gravel roads and whatnot. And this works on snow as well. Look in the direction that you want the vehicle to go. Skid control, first and foremost, drive for the conditions of the roadway. Generally, when there's a lot of snow on the roadways, there's compromised traction, the speed that the flow of traffic is traveling is generally the speed that you want to drive. If you're driving faster than the flow of traffic when conditions are bad, you're driving too fast. Skid recovery, steer in the direction you want to go. We've had this discussion before about older drivers, old driver education, which is when in a skid, turn in the direction of the skid. Well, which way is the skid? You don't have time to figure this out. From my personal experience and listening to other people's account, when they start to lose control of their vehicle, it happens very quickly and you do not have time to be figuring out which way the skid is going. Steer the vehicle in the direction that you want it to go. It's that simple, because if the skid is going in the direction of a ditch or a cliff, that's not where you want to go. So steer the direction that you want it to go. As I mentioned in the introduction, your seatbelt not only protects you in the event of a crash, it also keeps you in the driver's seat that you can work the primary controls and potentially get yourself out of trouble. If a crash is imminent, get your speed down as much as possible. Get on the brake, lock it up. Try and slow down as much as possible. Look in the direction that you want to go. Try and hit something with a glancing blow, not drive straight into something like a tree or a rock or whatnot. If you have a choice between a head-on crash and a sideswipe crash, pick the sideswipe crash every time. Sideswipe crashes generally only result in property damage. Head-on crashes, on the other hand, are not going to result in just property damage. There's going to be injuries. There's going to be fatalities. Steer like a crazy person and don't give up. Too many people get into a crash because they simply resign themselves to the fact that they've lost control of their vehicle and there isn't anything you can do to get it under control. Don't give up. Keep working. Keep working the brake, trying to get your speed slowed down. Keep working the steering wheel to trying to get it back to straight. Aim for something small. Aim for something soft. So, good tires on your vehicle, winter washer fluid. Make sure that you have good windshield wipers on your vehicle in the wintertime, because you're going to get lots of spray coming off other traffic and whatnot. Drive and adjust to the conditions of the roadway. As conditions deteriorate, slow down. As a general rule for new drivers, do not drive faster than the flow of traffic. If weather is bad, the speed at which the flow of traffic is going is the speed you want to drive. Until you get more comfortable driving in the wintertime and know the limitations of yourself and the limitations of your vehicle, do not drive faster than the flow of traffic. Tires, as I said, if you're not going outside the city and you're just driving around in winter conditions in the wintertime, as long as you have all-season tires that have the 3 peaks mountain snowflake symbol on them, or they have M&S, mud and snow, you're going to be just fine. Winter tires are definitely going to help you out. They're much better in the wintertime. They're a softer rubber compound and it flexes and allows better traction. The downside of winter tires, and this is the reason we take them off when the temperatures warm up, is because the rubber compound is so soft that in the summertime they'll wear out prematurely really quickly. They only last you a couple of seasons if you're driving them over the summertime. So don't drive on them in the summertime. Get them off your vehicle. Skid control. If you start losing control of your vehicle, get your foot off the brake, steer the vehicle in the direction that you want to go. Aim for something small, glancing blow. If you have the choice between a head-on crash and a sideswipe crash, pick the sideswipe crash every time in the winter time. And remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Marion, if you jerk the steering wheel like that, would it cause the car to spin around? Marion, no, because you're not holding it down very long. You're just bringing it down and then bringing it straight back up. It's a quick motion, down, back up. So, and it's slight too. It's like 3-4 inches on the steering wheel. It's not very much. It's not like you're doing a half a turn. Okay. It's a little bit and then back. Okay. So it's very small movements on the steering wheel when you're doing that chop steering. But as I said, Marion, you're probably never going to drive fast enough on slippery conditions that's ever going to happen to you. So it's going to be a last resort if you experience understeering and you can't get control of your vehicle. Retired, how are you, my friend? I thought about you driving in the fog on I-95 this past Sunday at 32 degrees. Yes, exactly what Retired just said about 32 degrees with fog on I-95. If it's overnight and there's very little traffic on the interstate, at that time in the morning, that's probably when you're going to get ice on the interstate, because 32 degrees is freezing and you got a lot of precipitation, a lot of moisture. That's when you're going to get ice on the highways. Exactly what Retired just said. Yes, those are perfect conditions for ice on the highways. Retired, there were warnings for icy road conditions. Thanks, Rick. You are most welcome, my friend. And in addition to that, most newer vehicles, anything past 2012, is going to have a temperature gauge inside the vehicle telling you what the temperature is outside. And take note of that. If the temperature is around freezing, if it's 32 degrees Fahrenheit or it's 0 degrees Celsius, know that there's, and there's fog, there's rain, precipitation, drizzle. There was snow on the ground the day before and it was melting because temperature was above 0, and then it went down to freezing overnight. There is a high probability that there is going to be ice on the roadway. So pay attention to that temperature inside the vehicle that's telling you what the outside temperature is as well. In addition to that, we all have phones. We all have weather apps on our phone. Look at that before you take off. And this information is going to help you out when you're driving in the wintertime to identify and locate ice on the roadways. Marion, you can almost feel the car shiver at that temperature. At 0, that's not when you can feel the car shivering. I can remember one time I got into the car in Ottawa and it was minus 36. And everything, the entire car is just like an ice cube. Everything is frozen. And when you turn the key to start it up, it was the same thing when we were in Golden. It was minus 35 degrees. It was just like, turn the key to the on position, wait a couple of minutes for all the electricity to kind of flow through it, and then just kind of cross your fingers and turn it over and hope that it starts. But I will tell you that I am old enough to remember cars before electronic fuel injection. Back in the old days when we had carburetors and you had to get in, you'd pump the fuel pedal 3 times and then you'd start it up. And and if it didn't start on the first go, then you had to hold the throttle, the accelerator all the way to the floor, and then it would sit there on high idle for 20 minutes until it warmed up. Electronic fuel injection is just a phenomenal automotive technological advance in the wintertime with these cars, the way that they start. Cold starts, just amazing with electronic fuel injection. And the computers on them are always adjusting the air intake to the fuel intake, and it's so much better than it was in the old days. Marion, when it is that kind of cold, minus 35 degrees Celsius, minus 30 degrees Fahrenheit, it is just frigid cold. Look at the video Corey will put up for you on cold weather starts with the Audi, with the 2014 Audi. I think it was minus 24 that morning. It was just, the vehicle, like anything past minus 15 degrees Celsius, which is like minus 5 degrees Fahrenheit, it's just frozen, like frozen. It is just like you don't even take your mitts off. You just have your mitts on and you hold the steering wheel and you just hope that it starts. Now, for those of you who have newer vehicles and you have push button start vehicles, the proper procedure for starting them up in the wintertime when it's super cold, keep your foot off the brake pedal, because you have to hold the brake pedal in order to get the engine to turn over to start. Keep your foot off the brake pedal, push start, let it turn on to accessory, give it like 30 seconds, allow all the electricity to kind of flow through. And then what happens is the computer makes its adjustments for the cold weather temperature and the fuel intake into the engine. And then after 30 seconds, once everything kind of warms up a little bit, put your foot on the brake pedal, then push the push start and start the engine. And there's a huge debate, and of course, all the electronic stores and automotive shops are selling remote starters for vehicles in the wintertime. So I'm never going to win this argument about the fact that once you start up your vehicle, that's as long as you need to run the vehicle to warm it up. You don't need to let it sit there for 15 or 20 minutes. And in addition to that, I have smart drivers that will come back and they'll say to me, oh, you cannot warm it up too fast. Believe me, the vehicle does not warm up too fast in the wintertime. Even right now, when the temperature here is only around 0, I can drive my car for 5 or 8 minutes and it still hasn't warmed up to operating temperature of the engine. So you don't have to let it sit there and run for 15 or 20 minutes. But, as I said, I'm never going to win this argument, because people will say, it'll heat up too fast and then you'll warp the metal in the engine. That will never happen. In addition to that, there's a thermostat inside the engine which controls the cooling system. If the engine does heat up too fast, that thermostat opens up and allows the coolant to move through the engine block, which will cool everything down. You're never going to heat up an engine too fast in the wintertime that it's going to cause it to warp. That's just misnomer, people coming at me with that. 22, yeah, it gets pretty cold here in Canada, so I understand that type of cold. Yeah, it depends where you live in Canada, but I have experienced it on the prairies, I've experienced it in the mountains, and I've experienced it in Ottawa, so yes. 22, yeah, automotive tech. Yeah, people telling me, oh, you'll warp the engine if you drive it. And the other thing I say about people is that you have to drive it to warm up the other components of the vehicle. You're not going to warm up the transmission. You're not going to warm up the diff or anything else. And you're depositing moisture into the exhaust system. You actually have to drive it to get that moisture evaporated out of the exhaust system in the wintertime, because if you don't drive it enough and don't warm it up and it just sits there and idles, you're going to collect a lot of moisture inside the exhaust system and cause it to wear prematurely. That's the other danger of this as well. You don't need to warm up your car in the wintertime beyond cleaning the snow and ice off. Yes, it's going to be a little bit cool, for the first couple of miles of driving it, but then it will heat up and you'll start to get heat out of it. The last piece of this with driving in the wintertime and heating up the engine and driving it, when you turn on the heater inside the cabin of the car, now you're drawing more heat off the engine and the engine is going to heat up even slower. This is a trick, an advanced trick that you can do in the summertime. If you have a cooling problem, something is wrong with the cooling system on your car and it's overheating, you can turn the heater on inside the cabin and that will draw heat off the engine. Knowing that, in the wintertime, when people will come back to me and say, oh, if you heat the car up too fast, you're going to warp the engine and those types of things, you're running the heater inside the cabin. Therefore, you're drawing even more heat off the engine and it's going to heat up even slower than what it normally would. So in addition to nothing besides the engine warms up when it's sitting there idling, the drivetrain, transmission, and all the other components are only heating up when you're driving it. It's going to heat up faster when you're driving. It's not going to heat up very fast because it's already sub-zero temperatures. And in addition to that, you're running the heater in the wintertime, so you're drawing heat off the engine. That's my whole argument why you need to drive the vehicle in order to get the engine to heat up in the wintertime, and it's going to heat up faster. And you cannot heat it up too fast. All the people that come back to me and have a go at me about their car idling in the wintertime. But as I said, I've resigned myself to the fact that I am never, ever going to win this argument, that you don't need to let your vehicle sit for 15, 20 minutes to heat it up. The only thing that you are doing is creature comforts, that you are being a little namby-pamby and you can't sit in the car for a couple of minutes while it warms up and you're driving it. Marion, is that why they say to put the heat on when climbing the Coquihalla in the summer heat? I don't really understand that. Marion, that's exactly why they say to do that. But any modern vehicle, your 2017 HRV, doesn't need you to turn the heat on in the summertime going up the Coquihalla. However, if it does start to heat up, which is not likely that it's going to do because your HRV also has electric fans in front of the radiator, that the electric fans will fire up and they will start drawing more air in over the motor to help it cool down. You don't need to turn the heat on. But that's exactly the reason, is because the heater draws heat off the engine and will help to cool it. If you are overheating, yes, that's what you can do. 22, yeah, no, I know. There's no winning that argument. I've resigned myself to that. But I keep saying it, but I know I'm not going to win. A winter survival kit. Corey's put that video up. Thank you for that. How do you start your car in extreme weather? Corey's put that video up for as well. Have a look at that, because, I was standing outside making a video when it was minus 25 degrees out. So love me. Give me some love. Epic, my friend, in the winter time, do you recommend adding in fuel additives? This is what my father did recently. He just put in additives also at the same time as this. Should you be carrying salt or chains for your trip? Epic, salt or chains, it depends where you're going. Okay, if you're going to go up to the mountains, you're going out into the back bush in the wintertime, then yes, definitely do that. As well, if temperatures are getting down sub-zero, then what your dad is doing, he is putting, gasoline antifreeze into the fuel tank. Yes, you can put those additives in as well. Fuel lock, my doors will freeze on the old buggy. A little bit of lock de-icer in there as well. You can put that in. Make sure that you put winter washer fluid into the wiper system so that you keep the glass clear and keep yourself safe with maximum visibility in the wintertime. And salt and chains, yes, if you're traveling into the back roads, backcountry, mountains, those types of things, then yes, you definitely want that in your vehicle. In the wintertime when the temperatures are around freezing, it is going to be more slippery. Adjust your speed, have good winter tires on your vehicle, wipers, windshield washer fluid in the reservoir, fill it up. If you're going out on the highway, make sure that you put an emergency kit in your vehicle with shovel, traction mats, booster cables. Have food, have clothing, blankets, water in your vehicle, as well have a charging cable for your phone. Keep yourself safe in the wintertime. If you're running on hard pack up and down to the mountains and those types of things, know that you can have studded tires on your vehicle in certain places. Check your state, check your regulations, make sure whether you can have steel studded tires on your vehicle or not. But have quality tires on your vehicle. All season tires that have the 3-peak mountain snowflake symbol or M&S, mud and snow. And be safe in the wintertime. Adjust your speed accordingly. If you start to lose control, get your foot off the throttle, wear your seatbelt, keep yourself in the driver's seat, and look in the direction you want the vehicle to go. You have any questions? Leave a comment down in the comment section. Make sure you check out Pass Your Driver's Test First Time. We include both the winter and defensive driving smart courses. You can pick that up over at the Smart Drive Test website for about $38. Definitely help you in the wintertime and to pass your driver's test, which is easier to do in the wintertime, and you're going to end up with a higher skill set. Do that. Don't postpone it until next spring. And remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Have a great night. All the best. Bye.